This is the night when the world's greatest library turned to ash. Flames leapt into the sky, devouring every manuscript, every discovery, every record of centuries of human knowledge. But what was this place? Before Oxford, before Yale, even before Princeton, there was Nalanda University, a city of knowledge where over 10,000 students from all across Asia gathered to debate philosophy, chart the stars, and copy sacred texts under the glow of oil lamps. And yet, centuries later, everything was gone, reduced to smoldering ruins. But who was responsible for this? And why would anyone want to erase the wisdom of an entire civilization? To understand Nalanda's story, we must travel back to the 5th century, to the time of the Gupta dynasty, when northern India was in its golden age. King Kumaragupta I, a ruler celebrated for his love of learning, laid the foundations of a place unlike any seen before. This was not just a temple, not just a monastery. It was a dream, a place where seekers from across the world could come and learn. The very name Nalanda meant an unstoppable flow of knowledge, and that's exactly what it became. Soon the word spread. Teachers of logic, philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, medicine all came here to teach. And students from India, China, Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia all traveled for months to reach this city of learning. Nalanda was no ordinary monastery. It was the world's first residential university, centuries before Europe could even imagine one. Imagine arriving at Nalanda's massive gates. Beyond them, the red brick spires of monasteries rise against the sky, and the air hums with chants, debate, and the scratching of styluses on palm leaves. The day begins at dawn. Monks and students wake to the sounds of bells and gather for prayer. In one hall, a master explains the Buddha's teachings, his voice echoing against stone walls. In another, students practice medicine, grinding herbs into powders and learning how to treat wounds. Under a Bodhi tree, a teacher traces the movement of the stars, showing how to calculate eclipses and seasons. Well, it was said that Nalanda's curriculum covered everything. Students debated for hours, sometimes even days, refining their arguments until their logic was unshakable. And if one had to enter Nalanda as a student, there were no shortcuts. You had to pass an oral exam so difficult that only a fraction of applicants were ever admitted. Now, while the students were learning and participating in debate and arguments which would make them scholars, what they didn't know was that this ruthless Turkic general had already burned Odantipuri, which was another great center of Buddhist learning, and overthrew kingdoms all across Bihar. His orders were clear: erase Bihar's cultural strongholds so that his master's empire could never be challenged. And then he set his eyes on his next target, Nalanda. At its height, Nalanda was home to over 10,000 students and 2,000 teachers. Its libraries, Ratnasagara, Ratnaranjaka, and Ratnodadi, they held hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, covering the entire range of human thought. Even the Chinese scholar Huan Sang wrote that these libraries were so vast that it took him years just to read through what they contained. Here, the world's greatest minds worked side by side. Indian logicians, Chinese pilgrims, Persian astronomers. You see, Nalanda wasn't just a university. It was the beating heart of an intellectual network that stretched all across Asia. And for centuries, this flame of knowledge burned bright. But no flame burns forever. One morning in 1193, smoke is seen on the horizon. From the watchtower, A guard spots an army approaching. Thousands of men, their banners green against the setting sun. The ground trembles as horsemen advance, dust rising like a storm cloud. Students rush to the gates, some praying, others try to flee from their rooms. The teachers call for calm, but their voices are drowned out by the sound of war drums in the distance. And then, through the haze, you see him. A commander at the head of the column, his face partly hidden by a helmet, his expression unreadable. His name is whispered by the wounded soldier who arrives breathless at the monastery steps. Bakhtiyar Khilji. The name hangs in the air like smoke. This was the night when the world's greatest library turned to ash. But who was Bakhtiyar Khilji? The man whose name became synonymous with destruction? He was a Turkic general from the Khilji tribe of Central Asia, once a low-ranking horseman in the Ghurid army. And his rise was tied to the ambitions of his master, Sultan Muhammad Ghori, the man who laid the foundation for what would later become the Delhi Sultanate. Ghori's campaigns aimed to break the old kingdoms of North India and establish Islamic power across the region. Long before dawn, the gates of Nalanda fell. Hooves thundered on the stone roads as Bakhtiyar Khilji's army stormed through the university grounds. Soldiers flooded the courtyards, their torches blazing like a storm of fireflies. Monks scrambled to protect sacred manuscripts. Students tried to flee, but the red brick walls that once sheltered them now became their prison. Scrolls and palm leaf manuscripts, centuries of human thought, were dragged out and piled high. The libraries, Ratnasagara, Ratnodadi, Ratnaranjaka, all were set alight. The flames were so intense, chronicles say that they burned for months, turning day into night and filling the air with smoke so thick it blotted out the stars. Muhammad Ghori needed his generals to crush every center of influence that could inspire rebellion. And Nalanda was one of the greatest of them all. And so, Nalanda, a place that had been the beating heart of knowledge for centuries, was silenced forever.